In this video, I'm going to be teaching you all the basics that you have to know if you want to run your OFM agency or in general run black hat marketing. We're going to be talking about behavior, what kind of devices to use, what kind of IP address to have, and in general, how to have the biggest trust score. By the way, my name is Armi. I've been in OFM for over 4 years now, and I run a multi-six-figure OFM agency. And in today's video, I'm going to be teaching you how to fool the systems. So first of all, we have to look at what is black hat. Black hat is going against the terms of service of each of the platforms that you're going to be using. We have to look at what does the terms of service have in all of them. First of all, you can only have like 1 or 2 accounts. You cannot run like multiple accounts at the same time. And in general, you cannot promote OF models on the platform. So that is going to be, in general, the most common terms of service stuff. So we have to make sure that they don't know that we are basically avoiding the terms of service, and we have to make sure that we act normal. So like if they check out our accounts, everything seems fine. This is going to track back to this trust score that we are going to have, and these are going to be the components of the trust score itself. So let's just break it down first of all with the IP address. A lot of you guys know that there are proxies, VPNs, mobile data and all this shit, but let me just clarify how to actually use them. So with the IP address, we have to make sure that it is clean. What does clean mean? It's not being overused, because as I mentioned before, in a lot of social medias, they don't like if users manage hundreds of accounts. So this is going to be the first thing that they are going to check out. IP address, for example, what you have in your house, that is one IP address, and they're going to check out how many accounts are being run on that one IP address. In general, you shouldn't be running multiple accounts on the same IP address. Make sense? So with this, we have to make sure it is clean, not overused. So for example, if you have like at home one Wi-Fi, you can run 1-2 accounts on it safely. But if you want to run multiple accounts, then you need multiple IP addresses. The way to achieve that is going to be either using mobile data, so for example, what you have on your phone, use VPN, or use a proxy. All of these are to make sure that you have different IP addresses. That's the point. Also, with the IP address, they're able to track your location. If you don't have like the GPS turned on, for example, on your phone, then this is how they are going to check out where you are. Make sense? As I mentioned before, you should be using a clean and not overused IP address. Okay, but now the question might be, which one, like a mobile data, VPN, proxy, or like which one should you use? With the mobile data, it is going to be as clean as it gets, because all of the people are going to be using the same IP address. If you are using mobile data, then you are going to be connecting to the same IP address as 200 other people. So that's why they are not able to flag mobile data itself. Then comes the VPN. VPN can be overused. That's why, in general, I don't recommend using a VPN for any sensitive social medias. We are going to be talking about which one to use for which social media, but in general, I don't recommend using VPNs. And then it's going to be the proxies. With the proxy, let me just do it like this, there are going to be multiple types of proxies. There's data center, there's going to be residential, there's going to be mobile. What a proxy is just a gateway to connect to an IP address. That is a proxy. Inside that, there are going to be multiple types: data center, residential, and mobile. Data center is going to be the worst quality. I don't recommend using data center proxies because they are overused by so many people. Next is going to be residential. Residential proxy is basically what you have at your house. With a residential proxy, you are connecting to someone else's home Wi-Fi. The quality of the residential proxy is going to matter between all the providers. In general, this is like a riskier thing, but it's not the worst. Risky / middle ground. Because with the residential proxies, it can be overused also, so that is why I mentioned it really depends on the provider that you're using. The mobile is going to be the best that you can use. A mobile proxy is basically just mobile data. Because with this, if you type in the proxy into your Power or your phone or like whatever you're using, then you're basically connecting to a phone, like a remote phone in the US, and you're using that mobile data. In general, mobile data can be used for anything. That is going to be the best. Okay? So, if you want to just get one proxy and use it through multiple social medias, if you just get one proxy, one mobile proxy, you are going to be good. Case closed. With this, there's also going to be the SOCKS 5 and HTTP question. Which one should you use? So HTTP or HTTPS is going to be only usable for websites. So like .com, Instagram.com, Reddit.com, for those websites. If you're using a PC, then that should be fine. HTTP websites. HTTP proxies cannot be used with applications. So for example, if you want to run a proxy on a mobile device, then HTTP is going to be not good. So that's why we need SOCKS 5. SOCKS 5 is going to be good for literally everything. So if you want to get mobile proxy or like whatever proxy, make sure to get SOCKS 5. Case closed. Next is going to be the device that you're going to be using. In this case, we can use either a PC, can use mobile. Now we have to look at with the eyes, this would be like an eye, with the eyes of the social media. Which one would you give a higher trust score? Which one would most people use on a day-to-day basis? Which one is harder to fool, basically? That's why using a PC, for example, for Instagram is not a good idea, because that is going to be generally have a lower trust score. Mobiles have a higher trust score. So that's why, in general, mobile is going to be the best for every single social media that you're going to be using. Mobile. Because again, with everything that we have discussed so far, it's going to be having the highest trust score possible. And in general, with the trust score, the harder it is to fool, harder it is to get, then you're going to have a higher trust score. Because if you think about it again, with the eyes of the social media, if someone wants to run hundreds of accounts, what is going to be the easiest way? Just going to be buying the cheapest proxy, just a data center proxy, and also having a bunch of PCs. That's going to be the easiest to run. So that's why it's going to have a low trust score. But if we're running a mobile device and also with mobile proxy, it's going to be impossible to realize if that person is like an authentic person or someone wants to run like a mobile farm. Make sense? So PC versus. In general, when we are thinking about running anything Black Hat, there's going to be a chart or like a scale. How safe and how cheap / easy it is. Whenever you want to run any social media, this is going to be the chart when we are doing all the setup. For example, if you want to run 100 IG accounts, then the safest option would be to have 100 separate mobile devices and have separate mobile proxy for each of them. But the problem is that's going to be the safest, but it's not going to be cheap, it's not going to be also easy. Make sense? But if you want to do it as cheap and as easy as possible, then you can also run like on PC with data center proxies, but you're likely going to get banned, so it's not safe at all. Make sense? So this is why we constantly have to decide which is going to be the best for your use case and also for your agency. With the devices, we have multiple options. Let me just clear my table. For the PC, the best option in general is going to be using a multi-login browser, which is going to be, my pick is AdsPower, but it doesn't matter which one you use. AdsPower, because with this, what you are able to do is instead of buying 100 different PCs, you are basically showing to the eyes of the social media that you have like all of these accounts that are going to be running on these AdsPower browsers are basically different PCs, means different people, because you can have like PC1 and IP1 and PC2, IP2, and there is no correlation between these two. That is what you're going to be achieving with the AdsPower or like any other multi-login browser and with a proxy. Make sense? This is what you're going to be using it for. For the mobile, there are going to be multiple options. With it, you can either have like standalone devices, so you have like one phone in your hand, that's a standalone device. Easy as that. With the standalone, we also have to mention the phone farm. A phone farm basically is having multiple phones at the same time. From China, you are able to order like a big phone box with like only the motherboards of the phones. That is going to be like a really cheap way of having multiple phones for your agency. The other is going to be emulator. Some people are using emulators for example, Reddit. Now, the thing is with emulator, it's going to be cheap, so it's not going to be safe, right? In general, emulators I don't recommend. I don't recommend them. Again, every single use case and every single agency is going to say different thing, but if you are looking at the long term, it's not going to be a good idea to be running emulators. And also with this, there's going to be app cloning. App cloning is going to be different on iOS and also on Android devices. For iOS, you can use Crane, iOS Crane, but for this you do need jailbreaking, which is going to be in another video. For Android, it's going to be Nomics Cloner. Again, there are going to be many other tools that you can use. These are the ones that I used before. Nomics Cloner. The standalone devices and also having a phone farm is going to be the safest, but it's going to cost you the most money. Emulators is going to be the cheapest way of having it, but it's also going to be risky. App cloning is kind of in the middle. It might be safe in the short term, but having like multi-million following IG accounts on cloned applications is going to be kind of risky. Do you understand the logic behind all of this? Good. So this is going to be the devices, and the last is going to be the behavior that we are doing. This is why warm-up exists. Behavior is going to be how we are using the account and how we are using the platform in general with that account. So here's going to be generally the warm-up and daily use. On every single social media, warm-up is going to be different, but in general, I would recommend doing warm-up for every single social media account. Again, with this, we just have to make sure that we look as normal as possible. So if you think about it, If a regular person registers to IG, they're not going to start blasting hundreds of reels a day, right? Because first of all, they have to see how the platform works, look at another reels, like a couple of posts, basically act as normal as possible. With the whole warm-up and the daily use, it's going to be acting normal. That's the main point. Because if you're using a mobile proxy, which as I mentioned before is the best, and we're also using a standalone devices, and on top of it we are acting as normal as possible, like a normal user would, then we're going to have the highest trust score possible. This is going to be true for every single social media that you're going to be using. Acting normal, like, again, you don't have to overthink it. Just, if you're using a social media platform, every single day write down like what you are doing. You're going to be scrolling, following, liking, saving, anything like this. And also you're going to be opening the app multiple times a day. This is basically acting normal. If you still don't know like how to do it, then just screen record whenever you're opening Instagram and check out what you are doing personally. That is going to be acting normal. And with all of this, you're going to have the highest trust score possible. And this is how you are going to avoid bans in general. And one last thing that I forgot to mention with the proxies is going to be like how to exactly use the proxies. With the PC, and if you're using like Ads Power, it's going to be super easy because you're able to put that into the settings. But if you're using iOS, then use Shadow Rocket. If you're using Android, then you're using socks. Or again, you can use whatever the fuck application you want to use, but these are the ones that we are using. If you're more interested in how to actually use the devices correctly and how to run the warm-up correctly, with the mobile form, I basically made 2 videos, one for Android devices and one for iOS devices on how we are running them. And for the exact warm-up that we're using, for example, with IG, I posted a video about that also. If you guys have any other questions, make sure to let me know in the comments. Peace out.